In the previous video, we saw how different code can be executed depending on whether a condition is true or not. Each condition is enclosed in parentheses, and the block of code associated with it is surrounded by curly braces. So if the first condition between the parentheses on line 5 evaluates to true, the code between the first pair of curly braces is executed. If the first condition fails, but the second condition between the parentheses on line 7 is true, then the block of code in the next pair of curly braces is executed instead. And if all previous conditions fail, the code in the else block at the end is executed. This is the most common way of building a series of conditional statements using if, else if, and else. However, there is an alternative syntax that eliminates the use of curly braces. Let's adapt this existing script to use the alternative syntax. The basic control structure remains the same. The first condition is introduced by if. It's between parentheses, but instead of curly brace here, we replace that with a colon. Curly braces need to be in pairs, so we also need to get rid of the curly brace before else if. And if we're using this alternative structure, we need to use it all the way through the same series. So we need to replace the next curly brace with another colon, and then remove the curly brace before else. We follow else, also with a colon, and then right at the end we need to deal with the last curly brace. We get rid of that and replace it with the keyword end if, which is all one word, and then we follow that with a semicolon. So if we save that page and then load it into a browser, it works exactly the same as the other syntax. However, there is one important difference. When you use curly braces around each conditional block, else if can be broken into two words, but with this alternative syntax, else if must be written as a single word. Let's see what happens if we break else if into two words. And if we save that and then load it into a browser, we get a parse error, an unexpected if. So we need to make sure that else if we're using this alternative structure, is always spelled as one word. And similarly, end if cannot be broken. If we break that, and then we save it and reload the page, we also get a syntax error, an unexpected if. So both else if and end if must be spelled as one word if you're using this alternative structure. So that is the alternative syntax for control structures using if, else if, and else. Instead of wrapping each conditional block in curly braces, you introduce each block with a colon. In this case, we've got 3 conditional blocks, but you can have any number of else if blocks in the middle or none at all. The structure always ends with end if, followed by a semicolon. If you decide to use this syntax, all of the conditions in the same chain must use it, and although it's more common to enclose each conditional block of code in curly braces, using this syntax can improve readability. Loops also use curly braces, but the end if keyword is clearly recognizable and unambiguous. So this syntax can also be useful when the conditional blocks contain a lot of HTML code.